Hey gals and guys, this is Michael Ferrari of Cinema to Meep and the Retro Movie Love podcast. We're here with another unboxing today. Let's see what we have today. Oh, looks like we're in some romantic comedy territory here today. We're going to be focusing in on The Long Shot, the recent Seth Rogen, Charlize Theron romantic comedy that came out earlier this year, and it's a little fanfare, I would have to say. Although, when I saw it in the theater, I really enjoyed it. I felt it was pretty funny, it was charming, it had heart, and I really liked the characters. What more do you want in a modern romantic comedy, right? Well, I think this one might have turned people off because, let's face it, the romantic comedy genre isn't really thriving these days. And the perception is that it's a pretty tired subgenre of film. And yes, there are. It has been a subgenre that has had a lot of misses in terms of hits to misses ratio, and there are definitely a lot of them that I do not really like. But once in a while, things come along that kind of surprise you, and I feel like The Long Shot was one of those films. I'm looking back at some of these romantic comedies. I kind of wanted to group together some of them that I would say belong to Generation X. Generation X romantic comedies for the most part. Let's look at from the ones from the 90s that I really like Singles, and of course Reality Bites and Chasing Amy best represent 90s, very 90s aesthetics and that time period, and the romantic comedy and where it was at that time period. And then in the 2010s, getting a little bit more current, there haven't been a lot of them that I loved, but I went back through my collection and I just pulled a couple of titles that I really liked. I remember really liking Going the Distance with Justin Long and Drew Barrymore. I thought they were very well matched together, and I really enjoyed that film. Same thing for She's Out of My League. A silly film, yes, but again, something about it drew me to it. An Obvious Child, definitely edgier than the usual romantic comedy. To use a bad word, edgy. I hate that word. I just think it has a personality all of its own. I think Jenny Slate is really good in that film, and she adds a lot to it. And of course, with her contributions to the story and screenplay, and it's really a big part of her personality. I think she's great. I think she needs to be in more stuff. Long Shot, I think, belongs definitely in that. To me, it's in that vein. It's more. There is some raunchy stuff in it. It's R-rated. It feels like it's a bit more for adults than for kids, which is good. So there's definitely some raunchy bits in it, and there's definitely that silliness that you would find in some of these films. But I think Long Shot really pulls it together really well, and it never loses sight of its characters. It's very character-based, the comedy. Some of the things get really kind of silly. I like the idea of Seth Rogen playing this very liberal writer who had a past with Charlize Theron when he was a kid, and then he finds himself meeting her, who she's now the Secretary of State, and their past kind of they reconnect, and it leads to a romance. And of course, they're very different people, and just seeing the differences and the fish out of water kind of stuff that happens in the film just really is played up really well, and it's done in a smart way and a fun way. And then the movie itself homages romantic comedies of past. You'll find a certain song from the movie Pretty Woman in this film used really cleverly. This movie is kind of surprising in what it does with the romantic comedy, and making it putting a nice modern spin on it, and I really appreciated that about it. Let's look at the special features. 7 Minutes in Heaven, Seth and Charlize Uncensored, Epic Flarsky Fails, Hanging with Boys to Men, and 8 more featurettes. So I'll be diving into those as I enjoy the film and see more of the wacky antics that might be in there. This was directed by Jonathan Levine, who had made few films prior to this. His debut film, I believe, was All the Boys Love Mandy Lane, that horror slasher horror film. And then he followed that up with, I think, The Whackness, which I really liked. It was a nice little surprise. 50-50 with Seth Rogen, which also a nice little surprise film. I ended up really liking that one. And then he did some silly films, like he did the Warm Bodies zombie romantic comedy, which I remember thinking that it was actually better than it was going to be, which was nice. And The Night Before, with, again, Seth Rogen. And so he's been doing some stuff there, and I think this one kind of slipped under the radar, to be honest. It just didn't really connect with audiences who didn't know what to make of it, I guess. But as it's a really solid romantic comedy. It has the usual things you'd expect in a modern Blu-ray release, like a slipcover and a Blu-ray and a DVD inside with a digital copy for those who do that sort of thing. So you get all that stuff. I found this one on sale, which was nice. So has something on sale. I added to my collection. I don't buy a lot of romantic comedies, to be honest, but I'm glad I have this one in my collection. I saw one recently that I actually liked as well, called Plus One, and I watched that one recently on television. It was streaming on demand, and I surprisingly like that one as well. So they do make good ones once in a while, and I'm not afraid to sit down and watch one and enjoy it, hopefully. So Long Shot's definitely one of the better ones, released on Blu-ray very recently from Lionsgate. So check it out if you haven't seen it. And some of these other more retro Blu-ray titles, I highly recommend Obvious Child if you haven't seen that one. I think it's great. Okay guys, thanks for watching this video. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Share our YouTube channel with others. It means a lot. Hopefully we'll be back with more, and we'll talk then. Ciao for now.